So very minor spoilers. I am not going to be touching on the manga material too much. I opted to just make it a bit more general, but there are still a few scenes from the manga. They're out of context, so they should be safe enough for the anime only watchers. And guys, we have a Discord server. Links are in the description down below and in my comment. Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now it's time to talk My Hero Academia. This time specifically doing Pair Spotlight, the series where we go in and talk about a pair of characters and the things that people enjoy seeing from them. This time, it's finally here, the most requested pair for the last month, Kirishima and Bakugo, otherwise known as BakuShima, the manliest friendship ever produced by My Hero Academia. So guys, for this one, I don't really want to focus on why people ship it because that'll limit the scope for what is otherwise, in my personal opinion, the best example of a developed secondary friendship. And I say secondary because compared to Izuku's friendships, you can make the argument that the friendships between other characters just won't be as prominent as the ones that the main character has. So instead, what we're going to do is cover the shipping corner first because there are some funny rationales that go into it and I'd like you guys to know them. After that, we'll move into the hard analysis where I will argue why Kirishima and Bakugo are the most satisfying friendship to be invested in. In terms of the returns a reader and or viewer can get, for the record, I will be mostly sourcing the manga when I'm referring to events. So shipping corner, first thing to be clear is that if you're shipping this, then on a surface level, it is a gay pairing. Now, I've already covered Torodeku, which offers my thoughts on why some might engage in this, so I won't reiterate the points that were covered there, but I will offer another perspective, and that being to what degree you relate to characters and what you perceive them as. Now, in my perspective, I see characters as constructs who happen to be assigned qualities that make them mimic humans. Also, characters are, I think, a tool by which the story expresses its themes and logic. Now, if you're paying attention, you'll notice I'm kind of detached from the qualities that identify the characters as a type of human. Because of that, the gender, the orientation issue, it's less of an issue for me. The characters to me are just blobs of ideas and concepts. They're not people, they're just designed to relate to people. My perspective, right? And you can put me at one end of a spectrum, and then someone who values the characters' identities as people on the other end of the spectrum. So we're on a spectrum. And in between those two extremes, there's all kinds of people. People closer to my end, I would say, are more likely to have pairings like these that run counter to some established rule dictated by orientation and whatnot, because the value isn't on whether or not they're attracted to each other or can be attracted to each other. The value is in the experiences and the exchange of concepts the characters show us, the viewers. So in simple words, some people just value the interactions in spite of biology. They might not see the biology as a big deal, and that is what helps some people get behind a ship that others might think is impossible. It's ultimately perspective on what characters mean to you. This idea of a spectrum, though, is a bit important to mention because there's something weird that happens that's especially prevalent with BakuShima, and that is that supporters get into arguments about whether or not Kirishima is gay and try to use evidence from the material to support that conclusion. Now, I'm not knocking down anyone that does that. It's just you're on the opposite end of the spectrum than I am, I think. But I personally would not engage in that type of rhetoric because it's full of too many assumptions. There's too little samples to make a reliable conclusion. I personally do not feel qualified enough to profile someone like that, and most of the time, people's emotions are what's powering them to find the reasons that support their conclusion, and I think that just opens the doors up for too much bias. Getting emotion involved into arguments, it's just not a smart thing to do. It's absolutely interesting how people associate qualities to Kirishima, and sometimes you may find someone who has a really well-written argument for why they're pushing it and why they believe it's true, and it might sway you to some degree, but on a practical level of energy conservation, I think we're all better off if we were of the mentality of, hey, if these characters dig each other, author, show us why we should believe that they do. It's not on viewers to justify what the characters are, it's on the author to convince as many of us as he can. If he can sell a relationship, then great, excellent, we need more of that. And to his credit, I do think he developed the Bakugo Kirishima friendship very well, and we'll get into that. But yeah, very quickly before leaving the corner, there's another funny thing that happens, and it revolves around why some people ship the characters, that being the thought, Bakugo doesn't get along with anyone else, you might as well ship him with Kirishima. I don't know, man. I find that so funny. Can you not smell the futility in that reason? Just like, well, yeah, we have no other choice here. It's either him or no one. Man, those people, they know how to ship. They're going to take the least losses in all of this and come out the happiest probably. Anyway, yeah, I just thought that was funny. And props to the author for making Bakugo so inapproachable that some people are just at a loss about what to do with him. Like really saying, you might as well ship him with Kirishima. Like that phrase by itself is just, I don't know. I find that funny. That's the best reason I've ever seen. It's just like, I have no other choice. You might as well just do it just because. I mean, man. Okay. Anyway, maybe not that funny. Anyway, let's get to the serious analysis and let's just face it. With Bakugo and Kirishima, the author has given us enough to convince us that Bakugo and Kirishima have one of the most well-designed friendships in My Hero Academia. And the qualities that make this one of the best are the briskness, the fulfillment, and the normalcy of the friendship. So there's something really cool that happens with this friendship, that being that it goes through a full journey where you as a reader or viewer can see the growth and then celebrates the completion of that journey with little moments. And for manga readers, one big moment that cements it to every viewer, not just the ones who are arguing for it. And the best thing about it is that the moments that make up the journey are very fast and just feel very natural as a byproduct. So let's start listing the steps of this friendship journey. First, My Hero Academia Chapter 10. Here we see Kirishima describe Bakugo as mental, pretty much the thought everyone else had at this point. Special note is that at this stage, Kirishima was more pumped about Izuku. Next moment, Chapter 17. Kirishima realizes Bakugo is more than his rage, although it's still there, and sure enough, we see Kirishima latch on to Bakugo here. Chapter 23. Here we see Kirishima jump into the scene and admire Bakugo even though other people are bothered by his actions, reaffirming that he is following behind Bakugo. And finally, Chapter 27, during the cavalry battle where we see Kirishima tell Bakugo he's got what it takes to handle him, and the most important thing, he tells Bakugo exactly what he wants to hear, that being the crushing of Izuku. This is effectively the end stage because it's after this point that Bakugo acknowledges Kirishima by calling him by name, the ultimate sign of respect for Bakugo. Now mind you, there were other little events that happened in between those ones, but these 4 events are the fundamental building blocks that complete the foundation of their friendship from which all other events are built from. In these 4 events, we see the journey from apprehension or doubt, where Kirishima sees Bakugo as dangerous, to clarity, where Kirishima sees that there's a bit more to Bakugo, to loyalty or trust, where Kirishima is now following after Bakugo, continuing to see his better qualities over his baser ones, to finally understanding, where he's telling Bakugo he can handle him, that they're equals, and effectively telling Bakugo he understands what Bakugo's after, and he's the guy that can help him to that end. The value of this is that we see the relationship grow from start to finish with little fluff or overexposure, something that happens with Izuku's relationships. With Bakugo and Kirishima, it's just 2 guys coming to find that they get each other and work well together after all. We don't need the drawn out melodrama of characters questioning what is it that they feel for another, or the dramatic breakdown of walls surrounding a character's heart. Seeing people just come to understand each other over time is just as valuable. And thankfully, beyond this point, we get to see small events that can only happen thanks to the initial foundation, such as Bakugo offering to help Kirishima study. Note how in the manga this is a simple panel, because it doesn't need to be overblown, it's just a fact of the matter. It's one friend helping the other out. In the long run, what these events did was that it took the drama out of forming a friendship and it instead shifted the drama into seizing the opportunity that could only exist because they had this friendship. Manga readers know what I'm speaking of. The event was big, and the best thing about it was that it got enough exposure to make it clear to everyone, characters and readers, that the history of the 2 had a purpose and that it had a reward. Now, the moments that surround the climactic moment, there's no real point to elaborate on it, since the point of it was to make where the characters stand clear and indisputable. These guys have a great and stable friendship. Izuku acknowledges this. Because of it, Kirishima was ultimately motivated enough to round up others to join him in his cause, and this was pretty much what would be expected of the character when the time came. The idea that Kirishima would take initiative, that wasn't something that was hard to sell to people. We all understood, yeah, that makes sense. Moving away from this climactic moment, we just see the characters spend more time together and just continue what worked from the beginning. Just the 2 guys sticking around each other and dealing with problems as they arise. If you're a fan of the two, then you're in luck, because Kirishima literally pushes himself into the scene where Bakugo is around. You can rest assured that you're going to see tons of moments of these two working together. And yeah, their dialogues may be quick. It's kind of like the side effect of being the secondary characters. But their dialogues are almost always significant with little repeating. With dialogues, there's always a sense of progression, and you can kind of tell it. And when you look back at the 4-step journey, you can see there was progression all the way throughout that journey. And I don't know about you, but that works great for me. Seeing the growth of characters and seeing rewards for that growth makes it a much more pleasurable viewing experience, in my opinion. Anyway, we're going to end it there. That's pretty much the gist of the friendship. I feel like it could have gone longer, but at the end of the day, it's pretty simple. Like, their friendship is based on simplicity, on just, hey, it works. But yeah, guys, so we stepped away a little bit from the shipping aspect of it, but let me know what you thought down below. Let me know why you ship the characters. Let me know if any of this part touched on it. Like, really what I wanted to just put forward was that, hey, the author went through all this trouble, and he put these little scenes here and there, and when you put all these scenes together, you see that there was a nice little journey that was going through for the characters. Anyway, let me know what you thought down below, and yeah, let's end it there.